Hello. Yes, for our next session, I'd like to invite Professor Meir from the School of Electrical Engineering, Tel Aviv University, and Arik, Senior Director, NVIDIA Inception Startup Program Lead. And I'm going to join you guys. There you go. First of all, thank you both for coming. We spoke last night at 8 o'clock at night while I was babysitting my grandkids and hoping they wouldn't burst in and ruin the conversation. But thank you guys for your time, and I think we're having an interesting, although probably too short conversation again today. So as we said, Arik is from NVIDIA, Senior Director of Innovation, and also he can tell a little bit about himself in a second. And Meir works here at the university, is also a co-founder of Run AI, which for those of you who know, there is a story that connects these two, which we will ask some questions about. So first of all, Arik, if you want to say a few words about yourself, and then Moshe.
So first of all, good morning, everybody. It's really encouraging and exciting to see everybody here, especially guests from abroad coming over at those times that are not trivial to any one of us. Before talking about myself, Avinatan was mentioned here before. Avinatan is an employee of NVIDIA. We all try to do our best to support the family and to waiting to see Avinatan joining us back. So with that in mind and
Amen.
With that strange switch in context. So I joined NVIDIA through the acquisition of Mellanox, and I think it's actually important to mention it today when we talk about the Israeli ecosystem here. Another, I think, good example of Israeli high-tech at its best, and of course I'm not objective, but still. And for the last 3 years, I lead the Inception program here in Israel. Inception is the startup program at NVIDIA, working with startups at different stages, from very early stage to very mature startups. Trying to do good things together to help support them and to see also value for NVIDIA from those collaborations.
Thank you. And Moshe, you're the head of a new department, right, at the university?
Well, I'll say a few words. As was mentioned, I'm a professor here in Tel Aviv University. I'm also heading the, it's already 3 years, the Center for AI. Tel Aviv University is the largest center of AI in the Israeli universities. Still, it's very small compared to what happened in the world. In addition to that, my involvement with Run AI was mentioned, but I was fortunate enough to start actually 5 companies and try to combine the academic work with the industrial work. Now, we mentioned AI. I think it's good to comment on at least 2 things that were mentioned here before me.
Please do.
Yeah. One thing that was mentioned by Alon Stoppel, he said that Israel decided to invest in AI. Frankly, I don't feel it. Frankly, there is a lot of talks and nothing really happens. You can say that this is our government that is not capable of doing anything real. I mean, there are efforts, but when you compare the major investment that are needed for AI, especially in computation, we could be shied against the Emirate. The Emirate develop models, and they are able to invest real amount of money. It's also in France, in India, and of course in the US and China. So in that sense, there is a lot of talking, but really nothing important that it happens from a government support of AI. That's clear. Everybody should know about it, and we should know the priorities of the state of Israel. The other thing that mentioned is actually the other way around. I think Shlomo Kramer just said that with AI startups, it's sort of a different story. You need, I don't know, you need a lot of data, you need a lot of investment. Maybe cyber is established, AI startups are not as established. Here too, I don't fully agree with that. There are some activities that require a lot of investment, computation, and data, but there are also many possibilities that fit the Israeli startup mood, I would say, way of doing business or way of establishing companies. The analog that I make is what happened with the chip, with the semiconductor industry. Israel, it's not a good idea that Israel will establish fabs. That's too expensive. The Taiwanese are doing it in one way. But we learn how to do fabless companies. In a way, we will be able to start AI, many AI startups on applications. There are great applications in cyber, in pharma, in social areas. And also, if we mention one AI, we can also support the infrastructure of AI. So those are my initial comments on things that were already mentioned here.
So we're going to leave the Run AI part for last and then give it back to Arik. But as we discussed last night, we're interested in knowing, you're from academia, you're from the industry, what AI startup models are you seeing, and what use cases are you seeing that you think that there is going to be opportunity for? Let's talk about specifically Israeli startups.
So I think Meir already touched it a bit. AI is an area that requires and is heavily dependent on academic knowledge, something to acknowledge, realize, and you can see that many of the interesting and promising and successing Israeli companies have a strong academic background of at least one of their founders. So I think this is maybe some other thing that is a bit different when comparing AI and cyber. With cyber, I'm not saying that there is no academic background, but it's not a must. Not to say that it's a must in AI, because there are, again, lighter models. It can be more focused on the application, but again, if you think about something that is very infrastructure, if you think about building new foundation models, there is probably a good idea to have a strong academic background involved in that. And that relates to the different models. So we see very promising companies on the infrastructure side, and the companies that are creating their own new foundational models. It doesn't matter if it is on the LLM or if it is more on the vision side, and now we are seeing the multimodality, combining different methods and methodologies to build new models. So we have the foundation and the fundamental models, but there are also areas around where we can see a lot of innovation coming from Israel, and I think we can be leaders there, coming around robotics. That's another very interesting, very innovative world where I think it's a good fit for the Israeli spirit, if we can call it, because it's multidisciplinary, in a way that is liked here in the culture. Need to solve many challenging problems coming from different areas. So I think there is a lot of things that we can do in this area, and there is already more than few very interesting companies coming from Israel in those areas. Some other areas are really around generative AI. So I already mentioned the foundation models and companies that are building the infrastructures, like AI-21 labs that are building the models for others to use, but there are companies that are built around those large language models, leveraging them and bringing the business sense to different areas whether it is financial services or it's coming in the marketing sector. And lately, and this is something that we are seeing only for the last year or so, and I'm glad seeing that, we are also seeing that being adopted in cyber. And here we are talking about the connection between cyber and AI. So I think we were a bit late getting into, we as Israeli ecosystem, a bit late into jumping into AI when it comes to cyber. But I think that now that we realize the importance, we are closing the gap, and I hope that we will be able to show leadership in that area, which I believe is becoming very important.
Okay, one thing that we discussed last night was the fact, I'm a marketing person, so this is something I understand, but everyone is using AI in their products and solution descriptions, whether they really have it or not. It's a fact of life that if you want to be at the same level as your peers in the global environment, you have to do that messaging and positioning. But as we discussed, there's not always a lot underneath those terms and definitions. And so that's a fact of life. Moshe, if you want to comment on the models, on robotics, the infrastructure, if you want to add anything to that,
sure.
but also to comment on this.
Sure. One strength that we have in Israel, which helped the high-tech in the last, I don't know, 30, 40 years, is the existence of strong academic, strong universities with great education, available to all, unlike in other countries. And in AI in particular, this could be a source of, again, activities, innovation, and so on. It must happen because, when you look at the courses that we offer in AI, they're packed. Everybody wants to study AI, either on the core subject in computer science and engineering, or on the applications. I mentioned the AI Center in Tel Aviv. We are also developing educational activities in that sense. So there is a strong activity in the universities, in the academia in Israel, and which must reflect on the way the industry will behave. And indeed, this connection between academia and industry, which led to previous innovation in communication. I mean, many companies that dealt with the internet infrastructure came from the combination between academia and industry. Cyber, in a way, maybe a little less, but definitely this strong academic substance that we have in Israel will inflect or will show up in the startup that will come up in this area. Now, it was mentioned here that some people carry the name AI for nothing. Well, fine, that's a marketing thing. I cannot object that, but nevertheless, there is this process of acquiring data, analyzing that, presenting that. Now it's called AI, not just data processing, that's fine. But thinking more deeply on what Israel can do in the world, in the startups. I mentioned before, well, fundamental models, a lot of investment, maybe some companies will do. That, I think, does not fit what Israeli companies are good at. That may be some government activity, maybe. I don't trust it so much. Nevertheless, there is a lot of what to do in the applications. Especially, I'm excited about all those biomed applications, starting from treating with the patient, diagnosis, data analysis, the better way to establish that part of the medicine, going through, which is already established, all these medical images and radiology and sensing, which again, now it's big part, AI can do that a lot. And going all the way up to the pharma, to drug design, which, yes, it requires AI in a particular way. It doesn't require so much data because there is not so much data. So application in biomed, for sure. Also application in some social related things. from transportation to smart cities, whatever, AI will be there. And on top of that, I believe that in the infrastructure, we can also, there is a room for startups that will use the knowledge in technology, in communication, in computing, and I can see actually that there is a good future for AI startups in Israel.
Thank you very much. So as the moderator, I have to try to stay on time. We only have 2 minutes left. So we're going to go to the question that I'm sure interests a lot of people. Arik, do you want to talk as much as you can about the journey between Run AI, which Meir is co-founder of, and how that evolved with NVIDIA?
So I will not refer to the last part of it, but I can refer to the previous parts where in the early days, Run AI really came with a solution that helped leveraging GPUs in a better way. In fact, better utilization of GPUs, especially in Kubernetes environment, and that was their main pitch. And as a leading GPU provider that NVIDIA is, a lot of their effort was focused around GPUs that came from NVIDIA. And throughout the years, there was a collaboration being built between the companies. And of course, it was a lot of push from a small startup that is trying to collaborate with the bigger company. So I don't think that it's a path that is good for all startups, right? It's something that was quite unique, and there is no like, let's follow the path. But I do think that as a startup, it's good to really understand who are the vendors, the technology vendors that can really leverage from what you develop and what you bring to the end customers, and look for ways for collaboration. It will usually start with a technology collaboration, and this is something that I'm still seeing even experienced entrepreneurs and founders of startups that are missing. Like, they come and tell us on the technology vendor side, a very good and exciting story about the value at the end customers, but there is nothing to collaborate around, or there is very little to collaborate around, and like, there is a missing piece. So if you want to achieve those good and strong collaborations that can become good partnerships, and look for the way on the technology side where you can impact the other product, where you can impact the other solution, and focus on that, and not just on the value to the end customer.
Okay, thank you. And I think that's an important lesson to know. There was a success story, but it's not applicable to everyone. Our time is up.
Oh.
If you can do it really quickly.
Sure, I'll do it quickly.
You can if you want to talk about that, or you can let us know what things changed after October 7th, but quickly.
Oh.
What changed? I know, if it's impossible, we'll leave it for the next panel.
Okay, so that's
Try in one
sentence.
yes.
For Run AI is a good example of combining a startup that came from academic knowledge and use of technology into understanding the market and making the right collaboration and getting to the right product. And of course, the credit are given mostly to Ronen and Omri, my co-founders, my former students, that were able to develop such a great company. October 7th was, an event that affected everybody.
Yes.
And in the beginning, of course, everybody was confused that things become slower. But I think that the high-tech, and I saw that in Run AI and in other companies, is more endured, is stronger. It can, I must say, the collaboration with NVIDIA continued in full speed, and the NVIDIA approach toward Israel is really something to appreciate. And if you can hear me, I will say it, I will tell Jensen Wang, the CEO of NVIDIA, the way he supported Israel in this difficult time is something to really be praised.
Okay.
And
I think that's a good ending. Thank you so much, guys, and may you have continued successful collaboration.
Thank you very much.
Thank you so much.